Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is episode 5 in my video on a series on American history. You don't need to strictly watch any of my previous videos to understand what is happening in this video, but I'd really appreciate it if you do. Now let's get right into the video. In the years leading up to and during the American Revolution, two distinct groups of colonists began to form. These were the Loyalists and the Patriots. The Loyalists were colonists who remained loyal to the British Crown, and they saw themselves as British subjects and respected the king. They believed it was the right of the British Parliament to make laws in America. They believed that strong ties to Britain were necessary for the colonial economies to survive, and that they were afraid that revolution would result in anarchy. So they supported the support for the Loyalists was greatest in the southern colonies and among merchants and cities who relied on British trade. About one-sixth of the American population at the time were Loyalists, about 500,000 people. The Patriots, on the other hand, were the colonists who advocated for rebellion. They were inspired by enlightened ideals of republicanism and liberalism. They believed that the actions of the British were tyrannical and undermined their fundamental rights. An estimated 45% of Americans supported the cause of the Patriots. However, only 20% advocated for independence at the time. Patriot support was the highest in New England, particularly the Boston area. The rest of the population, neutrals, about 40%, didn't have strong opinions one way or the other. Both Patriots and Loyalists tried to win these people during the rebellion. Black Americans supported both Loyalist and Patriots causes, hoping that their position in society might improve. Native American tribes tended to side with the British, believing that they would help them keep their land. The Second Continental Congress was formed in May of 1775 and involved delegates from all 13 colonies. The 56 delegates to the Continental Congress became known as the USA's founding fathers. Some notable delegates were Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and John Adams. The delegates to the Congress were all heading to Philadelphia when the battles of Lexington and Concord broke out. After this event, the Congress became a government for the colonies and were responsible for organizing the Patriot War effort. They voted to form a Continental Army led by Virginian General George Washington. The army was mainly formed of part-time soldiers from colonial militias. They lacked supplies, equipment, and training and discipline of the British Army. On the 17th of June 1775, the Continental Army fought its first major battle against a British garrison outside of Boston. This was the Battle of Bunker Hill. The colonial army of 1,000 fought 2,200 British troops, and it was a defeat for Patriot forces. However, the Patriots managed to inflict heavy casualties on the British. The outcome of the Battle of Bunker Hill encouraged the Patriot cause and showed that the Continental Army had a chance of beating the British, even if they were outnumbered significantly. Neutral Americans began to actively support the Patriot cause, which led to the number of volunteers to the Continental Army increasing. By early 1776, the Continental Congress was debating declaring independence due to the increase in support. On the 4th of July 1776, the Congress unanimously approved the Declaration of Independence, which was a document which listed 27 grievances against the British government which colonists used to justify independence. They argued that the actions of the British undermine the natural and legal and political rights held by individuals and how all people are equal. The Declaration of Independence marked the beginning of the United States. The British war strategy was to separate New England from the other colonies since New England was the location with the highest support for the rebellion. In September of 1776, British troops captured the city of New York and pushed northwest to encircle the New England colonies. The Second Army pushed south from Canada to try and completely cut them off. In July of 1777, they defeated the Continental Army at Fort Ticonderoga. From September to October of 1777, the Battle of Saratoga occurred and was an American victory and the turning point of the war. This was due to the fact that the British advance left their armies in a vulnerable position. They were attacked by the Continental Army, which inflicted significant casualties. In 1778, the French officially joined the war on the side of the Americans. They had been assisting the Patriots since 1776. However, the victory at Saratoga had convinced the French that they could win. They sent troops and supplies to the Continental Army and provided naval support so the colonists could break British blockades. From 1779 to 1781, the war became a stalemate and neither side had the advantage. The British attempted to attack the South but were unsuccessful. In September of 1781, the Battle of Yorktown occurred, which was the last major battle of the Revolutionary War. It had a combined French and American force of 14,000 troops, which surrounded and captured Yorktown, Virginia. The news of defeat at Yorktown led to support for war faded from British Parliament and the British public. In the spring of 1782, peace negotiations began in Paris. Initially, the British refused to recognize the United States as independent, which meant negotiations stalled. the continued resistance to the war and election of a more pro-independence party. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, with the terms very favorable to the United States. In the terms of the treaty were that the British formally recognized the USA, and that Northwestern society, including the Ohio River Valley, was ceded to the USA. And the USA promised that loyalists would not be punished by the new government. Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, that's all for the video. Sorry for keeping it very short. I actually was in a rush to get it out on time and also sorry for not editing the last bit since I didn't really have time. I've edited all I can and now I've run out of time because I wanted to get it out by the end of March, and today is March 31st, so we're trying to push it out, and thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Bye.